mute yourselves. Okay, thank you. Got it. This is a safe space, so please be respectful of yourself and others. Please enter any questions for the speakers in the chat, and we will make sure that they are addressed. Please remember to enter your name and organization in the chat so we know who's here. Closed captioning is enabled, so if you need this feature, please hover over the More at the bottom of the screen and click on Enable Live Transcript. This session is being recorded. Session materials and recording will be made available approximately 1 week after the event. At the end of the session, you will be asked to complete a 3-question evaluation. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenters today. Our first speaker, most of you already know, is Terry Chilkowski. She received her start in community development at the Ohio CDC Association, where she developed and coordinated training and technical assistance programs in affordable housing, microenterprise, and economic development. After 5 years, she established her own consulting firm, working primarily in organizational strategic planning and microenterprise program development. Since coming to the Florida Alliance for Community Solutions, Terry has worked steadily to build the structural capacity of member organizations. She was a Peace Corps volunteer in Belize in Central America. She holds an MA in International Development Studies from Ohio University and is an NDC Certified Economic Development Finance Professional. So welcome, Terry, and thank you for being here. Our second speaker is Janet Degeri, who serves as Communications and Marketing Manager at the Florida Community Loan Fund, a statewide CDFI. She is responsible for communications with investors, supporters, borrowers, and policymakers, ensuring consistent messaging across all channels and platforms, including materials for print and the web. She works closely with all departments, actively promoting the success and positive impact of FCLF borrowers in Florida communities. Janet joined FCLF in 2007. Her knowledge across the fields of marketing, administration, and accounting enables her to see and communicate the complete picture in FCLF's lending transactions. So Terry, without further ado, take it away.
Thanks, Irby. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see? All right. So in today's session, we're talking about the Alliance. You're going to see Florida Alliance of Community Development Corporations and Florida Alliance for Community Solutions because I'm sorry. What was that, Vivian? Excuse me.
You're sharing your desktop, not PowerPoint.
Okay, apparently I'm not sharing the correct screen. Hold on a second. Vivian, can you come and help, please?
This always happens, so it's not a big deal. We always have some kind of technical issue.
Okay, now am I sharing a PowerPoint or am I just sharing my desktop?
I'll go lower.
I'm not getting any feedback from anybody.
This is correct. It's not.
Okay, thank
it's
you.
not full. It's not full screen. I see some background around it, but it's fine.
How about
and
that?
You're on page
Yes.
4.
All right. Well,
There we go.
Now, so sorry, technology is not my friend. So today we've introduced the Alliance. I said there's some confusion about the name, but that'll all be cleared up tomorrow. We're going to learn how to define our audience and communicate the message that we've learned from the survey. We're going to look at some tools that we can use to reach our audience and how to share information effectively, and talk about what the next steps are going to be. So we rewrote our mission and vision statements a few years ago in order to make the organization more inclusive, because we were struggling with the whole concept of community development corporations and community organizing and community building, and so we wanted to make sure that we were reaching a much broader audience. So we decided that our last survey was conducted in 2016. Which was quite a long time ago. And there's been an awful lot of changes in the field since then. So we worked with members and with Rollins College to help us prepare a survey, which we administered early this year in February through April. It went out to voting members and also some other nonprofits that aren't members or have been members. But it was about 65 organizations, and we received almost 30 responses. So we conducted the survey so that we could better tell the story of the field. Funders always want to know, what do you do? What do your members do? What are they accomplishing in the communities? So so the purpose of the survey was to better understand the characteristics of community-based nonprofits and the impact that they have on Florida's families, communities, and economies. So Irby.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought we had a question there. Or,
yes, I apologize. I didn't realize we were in slide 6 already. So we wanted to know by a show of hands, how many that are in the audience today are not members of the Florida Alliance of CDCs? Alliance. Now it's a Florida Alliance of, what is it? It's
Community
different.
Solutions.
Community Solutions. I apologize. So let me make sure I'm speaking. I think while you're sharing your screen, can everybody see the full gallery? Let me see, because I really can't see the people that are raising their hands unless you do it. Let's see. Yeah. Anyways, if you could put it in the chat if you're not a member of the Alliance, and we can follow up with you. Thank you.
Oh, there's a few. Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. And so Janet, we're going to turn it over to you so you can tell us how we can effectively communicate the findings.
Sure. Thanks, Terry. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So I work for a nonprofit, and I love nonprofit marketing and communications. So what I'm going to attempt to do today is share a little bit of best practices for nonprofit communicators, and we'll see how we can take those best practices and apply them to these survey results. Are we, is our PowerPoint frozen?
Yes, it has. Let's see if we can resume the share there. Oh my goodness, we're just having a difficult time today. If you can go ahead, Janet, I'll try and figure this out.
Well, when we talk about one of the first things that we always want to identify when we're doing any kind of communications and marketing is who is our audience? Who are we speaking to? Who are we trying to get the message across to? In general, when we're in nonprofit, our audience are going to be things like our clients, our funders, of course, our grant makers, our government officials, and it could be the press and the media. Yeah, next slide. So as an Alliance member, when we did this survey, we're asking you today to share the results of the survey, which Terry will go over with us in a minute. And who are some audiences that you might want to share those results with? And these are some things that we came up with, but feel free to expand the list on your own, back at your own office. So we think you might want to share these results with your residents, if you're a housing provider, with your community, whoever it is that you're working with. Of course, you might want to share the results with the funders, because you're going to be impressed at how strong of a membership we are. You might want to share these with your government officials, local and state, as you present what your organization does and what we can do as a membership together. And of course, the press and media, they are always looking for stories to share. So that might be an audience that we want to share too. Next slide. There's plenty of ways that we can share this information. We always suggest your website, and I'll get a little bit more into why that's my #1 priority. Social media, of course, is big on everyone's time these days. If you have blog posts or podcasts, you can share the information through those. And also printed materials are always still a good way to share the information. Even though we're mostly virtual these days, printed materials still give the user something to hold on to and refer back to later. Next. Just some tips on social media. Remember, when you're posting on the various social medias, that you have to customize a little bit. The same message is good, but you might want to change the wording a little bit or change the image that you're using along with it. We think of Facebook as more informal, more friend to friend. We think of LinkedIn as the B2B platform, more business to business, and those your connections on LinkedIn are probably going to be more professional. So you might want to have a more professional tone. Instagram, for example, lives on images, visual, whether it's a video or an image. And then on Twitter, we're asking you, if you share these results on Twitter, to link back to FLA CDCs and to use a hashtag community solutions. Next. These are some of my tips for social media time savers. The first one is just go ahead and bookmark all of your organization's social medias right in your browser. This is a picture of my Chrome browser where I have bookmarked the ones that I use every day: our website, our LinkedIn, our Facebook, our Twitter. That way I don't even have to take the time to type that FC or Facebook.com into the URL. I just click on that one button, my favorites, and there it is. I also recommend that we set a social media routine if we're using social media, which I hope everyone is. And these are some examples of ways you could do that. You could spend 5 minutes a day on your social media. Okay, I'm going to make all my posts for today in 5 minutes. You could take 3 times a day and spend 10 minutes if you really want to delve into it. Let's say you want to look at Twitter and see what's trending and how can you relate that to your organization or your mission. Or you might just want to set aside an hour once a week where you sit down and you decide what your posts are going to be for the next week. You jot them down, you map them out, and then you consider a scheduling tool. Facebook and Twitter have their own built-in scheduling tools now where you can make a post and pre-schedule it. You can also use Hootsuite, Buffer. There are many others. Those are some of the more popular ones. But one thing that I always recommend is to keep in mind what you have pre-scheduled in case there's a news crisis that would cause you to reconsider posting that. And the example that I use is, if you recall the Boston Marathon bombing, there actually was a nonprofit in the area that was going to have a 5K race coming up, and they had pre-posted a lot of Facebook posts about their 5K. So of course, as soon as that tragic event occurred, they wanted to remember to go in and take down all those posts. So if you do pre-post, that's just a tip to keep in mind what you have posted that you might need to review in case of some news crisis or if something changes in your environment. Next slide. And this is another one that I like to say for nonprofits especially. And in this slide, I have picked on one of our Alliance members, the Evans Center, who I'm somewhat familiar with. you know, when we have to report to our funders, or sometimes when we're writing a brochure, we might use the first method here just to get the basics across, that we have a member who developed a 6,000-foot facility. That's great, but if we add some story to those numbers, we can jazz it up a little bit. That's what I've presented here on the bottom half of your screen. So instead of just saying that they developed a facility, I can demonstrate what's involved in the facility, how many square feet they have, and what they're using that facility for. So when you get the community survey results, I encourage you to pick a nugget out of that that really speaks to you or how your organization works. And then you can do this. You can expand on it to show examples of your own organization, especially if you're sitting down with your local press or your local funders or your local government. Next slide. We want, as we mentioned before, once you've developed that story, repurpose that content. Don't reinvent the wheel. Here again, I've picked on one of our Alliance members, Ability Housing, with their Wayne Dench Center for Supportive Housing. We did a story on them. We were fortunate enough to be able to go out and do a video. And let me tell you, we used that in every way imaginable so that we did not have to reinvent the story. So my point here is, once you get the content written and created, you can use it on your website. You can use it on your social media. You might use it in your annual report. You might have a video of it, however you can use it. And you can do the same thing with the results of the survey that we're going to share with you today. And I think I have one more. Everything should lead back to your website. Even when you post on social media, I encourage you to include a link back to your website. Remember, we don't own social media. Sometimes it goes down for a full day, like it did earlier this week. That was a perfect example of why we shouldn't depend just on social media. We own our website. We want to make sure that those websites are current and that they're up to date. If we have a new program, it should be there. If we've had program changes, if we have a new logo, new staff, new executive director or board members, let's make sure that our websites are always up to date. And then you can be proud of the Florida Alliance for Community Solutions, and you can share this impact that we're going to give you today on your website. Now, I would like to say that as one of the things that we're planning to do after today's webinar, all members will receive a toolkit, communications toolkit, that will give you some things that you can use to post and to share the results of these survey results. We're going to send you some graphics, some sample website posts, and so forth that will be so easy for you to help share the news.
Okay, thanks, Janet. I do have another question for the participants. If you could please answer in your chat. What social media channels do you find most effective? And also, which audiences do you find most difficult to reach? So if you have answers for either one of those, please place them in the chat for the rest of the group. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Irby.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now, what did we learn about community-based organizations in Florida? Well, we learned a lot. We learned that half of them are pretty good size. Nearly half of all of them have annual operating budgets of, up to $5 million. So that's excuse me. So that I didn't realize that they were that big. Honestly, so I was pleasantly surprised there. We also found out, as far as the size, that nearly 70% of them are really small businesses, with having up to 20 employees. So I didn't realize that we had so many in that middle bracket there at 35% of them having up to 20 employees. And then we have almost 25% of them that are pretty large, with 21 to 72 employees. Another interesting fact that we discovered was that 83% of them have taken some steps to advance diversity, equity, inclusion within their organizations, which is critical for us because it's one of our core principles for the Alliance. So we were pleased to see that and trying to figure out how we can help make that go forward. So the next question was sort of who's in charge? And as you can see from the graphics, thank you, Janet, who designed all these beautiful graphics for us. On average, board members at our member organizations are 45% white, 43% Black, and 12% Hispanic. The CEOs or executive directors, very similar numbers, 48% white, 38% Black, 14% Hispanic, and other key leadership staff, 47% Black, 31% white, and 12% Hispanic. It's important to note here that this is an average, and that some of the organizations are actually located in predominantly African-American Black communities. And so they may have a board that is, 99% Black. But on average, I think, we do a pretty good job of representing the population of Florida. So where do they work? They're every place. Again, we only 29 organizations responded to the survey, but they represent 39 counties. And those 39 counties encompass 92% of Florida's population. And this isn't our entire membership. So again, remember, this is just a percentage of the membership that actually responded to the survey. And they're serving over 130,000 people annually. That is a lot of people that are directly impacted by the work that members of the Florida Alliance do. And what do they do? Well, they do an amazing amount of stuff. Just in the real estate development areas, 66% do new housing construction. 48% do some sort of rental housing development. 41% offer down payment assistance, which was higher than I expected. 38% do housing rehab. I have to tell you that number, I'm sure, has increased significantly after the housing crisis in 2008. And 14% do some sort of commercial real estate, which I thought was very interesting. That's more than we anticipated. Now, that's on the real estate side. Then they do all this other stuff as well. So they work in communities and they do other community improvement activities, such as the down payment assistance, which we've mentioned, foreclosure counseling, home repair, home ownership counseling, business facade improvements, streetscapes, job training and placement, youth employment, education, youth, childcare, food access and nutrition, medical assistance, veterans programs, community, you name it. And there's an Alliance member somewhere across the state that is doing something in that area. And finally, we wanted to know, who do they serve? And this was where I was a little bit surprised by some of this. I wasn't surprised that 100% of the people that are served by our members are low income, 80% or below of area median income. What did surprise me was that 37% of them were serving very low or extremely low income. So those are people at 50% and below of area median income. So that's a difficult population to reach. Ages. This one was a challenge because some members track this stuff very closely because of their funding sources, and some members do not. But we were able to determine that pretty much everybody of every age group is served, but 35% of all the people that are served by our members are in the 25 to 54 age group, which was surprising. I expected it to be, much higher numbers or higher age or lower ages. And as far as ethnicities, again, everybody gets served, and it depends on the population and the culture of the community where the organization is located. But basically 52% of the folks that are served are Black, 26% Hispanic, 20% white, and 2% of all other populations. So that was, that's pretty much the results that we found. So, sorry, I'm.
Thank you, Terry.
So we have a question for you.
Yes, thanks, Terry. So I'm going to ask you to stop sharing your screen if possible. That way we can get a gallery view of everyone. And there we go. Good, thank you. So one of the questions that we did want to ask our participants was, what was the most surprising thing you saw in the survey results? And if there's something that really stood out to you, if you could raise your hand, and we'd love to hear your response live. And now I think I can see all hands, so that's good. Nobody was surprised by any of the answers? Okay, we did have some responses to the social media question, and it seems that most of you use LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I just wanted to throw it out there, if there was any particular audience that you're trying to reach and you find that it's been difficult for you to reach in your social media outreach. Because I think Janet would probably be able to help us in that particular area. We have a pretty quiet group today, ladies. So maybe that's because everybody's ready to go. Get out at 11 o'clock on the dot here. No questions from anyone? There were a few people, Terry, that mentioned that they were not members of the Alliance. And I don't know if you'd like to mention how they could become a member. Do they reach out to you directly?
Certainly. You can just visit our website at www.flacdc.org, and there's membership information right there. Oh, I see a question.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a question from Julie, and I think that's directed towards Janet.
Yes.
So the question is, how do we deal with increasing knowledge about the workings of Facebook? So if you're asking about how you can learn more about Facebook, I almost want to say email me, because there's so many blog posts and there are a lot of social media wizards, I want to say, that I follow, that there's not one place. Facebook itself is notorious for not having great information. They're very hard to deal with. Sometimes you log in and everything has changed and you don't know what to do with it, or why is it not working the way it was yesterday. And it's very hard to get answers from Facebook themselves. But my email is in the presentation. I'm janet@fclf.org. And I'll be glad to share with the group or with you individually some of the bloggers that I follow that have good information. There's a website called Social Media Examiner that has a lot of blog posts that are helpful. They're not solely focused on nonprofit, but they do have a lot of good information. There's a website called Nonprofit Tech for Good that does webinars that are either low cost or free, that are very good on that. And right now I wasn't prepared with that answer, so I can't think of a lot more right off the top of my head, but they're out there.
Okay.
Thank you. There's another question. The increase, again, from Julie, thinking about the increasing scrutiny of its security and privacy policies, it does not appear to be a pretty picture and makes me pause. Again, referring to Facebook, they've been in the news, as we all know lately, and with a lot of stuff going on with the whistleblower. So any response to that, Janet?
Well, I personally have a real love-hate relationship with social media in general. I'm not convinced that it does us a lot of good, except to get the word out, especially if we're offering services or we're having events, we want to get the word out. But it's very hard to work within their parameters. As you're saying, they get a lot of bad press. And I think our response to that is just to be as positive as we can. We want to post the good news. And if somebody posts something negative on our site, we want to try to answer it respectfully and positively. Or if it's really negative, we can delete those comments if somebody posts something that's just really inappropriate, and we can tell them that's why we deleted it. But I think our role as nonprofits, and especially as trying to improve communities, is just to be as positive as possible, even though there's a lot of negative press swirling around. On my company's Facebook, we stay very neutral as far as anything that's going on politically or in the government. And we just try to emphasize the services that we can offer and the families that we can help reach. And thank you, Irby, for putting my website, my email in the chat. My email is in the chat, janet@fclf.org. And it'll be on the last slide of our presentation too.
Thank you. So Julie, again, thank you, Julie. You have some great questions. Was interested in the mix of the ethnicities among CDC leadership. In some ways, not surprising, but in other ways, very encouraging. obviously a large majority of leadership in both African American and Hispanic. So maybe you'd want to, maybe Terry can address that.
Yeah, I
Since
have to say that
members-
I will say that we expected to see that, just knowing the membership as we do. I know that at the Alliance, we're very intentional about recruiting board members who are not just geographically representative, but also racially and ethnically representative of the membership across the state. And it was really encouraging to see that the members themselves are taking this very, very seriously and doing a remarkably good job, I think, of being representative of the communities that they're serving. And this next one looks like it's for Janet.
The question
Yes,
is,
Janet, sorry,
the
go ahead.
the
please.
question is, do you have any recommendation on the types of messaging for the distinct audiences that we are communicating with? This really is the basis of all of our communications and marketing. Who are we trying to reach, and how are we going to tailor our message to them? I can tell you, in my experience at Florida Community Loan Fund, we have different audiences. We speak to our borrowers, and to our borrowers, we want to show them that you can come to us for financing for your project. Here are some other organizations similar to yours that we've been able to help, and here's how. Here's why our financing is a good fit for your project, and so on. If we're speaking to a policymaker, a government official, we want to show them that we're a strong organization, which you can do with these survey results. Look at the the strength behind your membership. We want to show them that we've been around for a long time and that we're not going anywhere, and that we care about the members in our state or in our local district. So we want to be a little more serious with our government officials. If we're speaking to our funders or our grant makers, of course, we want to show them how we're going to do good things with their funds. And that goes back to the storytelling. So those are some of the different audiences that I personally work with crafting different messages for. But I can take the same story. For example, I showed in my part of my presentation, we did an in-depth story with Ability Housing in the Wayne Dench Center. And I can take that, once I have that information, I've got interviews, I've got video, I've got print materials, and I can switch it up for whoever I'm talking to make it meet their needs. And it's not going to be a different story. I'm just going to highlight a different part of it. So that's one way. Then if you're asking about, when you say types of messaging, if you're also thinking about the different social medias, for instance, we're a B2B company at Florida Community Loan Fund. We don't get to interface directly with the housing residents or the kids in the daycare. So we're really talking to the other businesses. And for that reason, LinkedIn is one of our better interactions and engagement on social media. Facebook is not great for us. I think if we were dealing with the clients and with the housing recipients and so forth, that Facebook might be a better place. I don't use Instagram at all because I don't have a lot of action photos. Like, here's where we went today. But if you're out in the community working with children, working with, ribbon cuttings, that kind of thing, Instagram is great if you get a lot of that kind of stuff. So you think about that too. How am I going to communicate this? Where am I going to communicate it? So I hope that answered a little bit. I could ramble on for a long time, but I won't.
I think we do have one more question for Terry. Why were you surprised at the age range, and does it influence thinking on longer term strategies?
That is a good question, Julie. I think I was surprised because there seems to be such an emphasis, on, are you serving the senior population? Are you serving youth? Have you got special programming for youth? So, financial education and so I guess a part of my surprise was that the folks that are really utilizing the services are just, the regular, I'm trying to make a living, raise my family, middle of that age, the working age bracket. And I'm not, I don't understand why, I don't know really why I was so surprised. But I think it will kind of have an impact on the kinds of programming that we put together going forward. I think the edges, the population edges are still going to be important, but it's an eye opener to me, probably not to my members so much, that the people that are really utilizing their services are just regular folks, working class, working age people. And your questions were wonderful. And Julie, all of the materials are going to be made available about a week after the session. So the PowerPoint will be available. Actually, Janet and I have a couple more things to talk about, but we're going to make all this stuff available to everybody after the event. And the session is being recorded, so the recording will also be available and the transcript will be available as well.
I did get a question relative to membership in the Alliance and whether or not it's restricted to any specific group. Is it only for nonprofits or is it for anyone as far as size, mission, and so forth?
Our membership is it's pretty wide open. If you are a not-for-profit, you are incorporated in the state of Florida, and your mission is to serve lower income communities, then you are eligible to be a voting member of the Alliance. If you're not, but you're still interested in this area, we have a variety of affiliate memberships. We have student memberships and individual memberships and county government memberships and nonprofit intermediary memberships and CDFI memberships. Janet represents a community development finance institution, and we have a number of those in the membership as well. So as I say, it is a pretty diverse group, and if you're interested, we would love to have you.
Great.
So I think we've got maybe just one more thing. Am I sharing again?
Yes.
All right. So next steps. It's one thing to get the information, which I have to tell you, I don't know how many of you have ever tried to survey, a lot of organizations across a large geographic area. But it is a challenge getting people to respond. And, so we don't do it very often, but we think that it's important to get this information. So, and not only to have the information, but to figure out, how to use it and how to use it effectively. So our commitment is that all members voting in affiliate will receive an electronic copy of this report, which they can use, as they like. We're going to design and provide a banner, for our members to put on their website that, your organization is a proud member of the Florida Alliance for Community Solutions, which is our new name. And that banner will also include a link to the survey results that will be posted on our website. We're going to administer the survey every other year. We did learn a lot from the survey. I will tell you, some of the questions were a little bit squishy. We learned that not everybody tracks the same sorts of information. I mentioned earlier, not everybody tracks ages. Not everybody tracked ethnicity. So we learned a great deal from the questions. So we'll be revising the survey, but we're going to put it out every other year. So 2023 will be the next year that the survey will go out. And Janet Degeri has agreed to work with us. Thank you, Janet, and the Florida Community Loan Fund has promised to work with us to help assemble this toolkit. So we're really excited about that. And Janet, can you talk a little bit more about what the kinds of stuff that will go in there?
Well, you may have noticed in the PowerPoint, we had two kind of images that summed up some of the results of the survey. One of them was about how many people that we reach, and the other one was about the types of services that we provide. And so we're going to send you, go forward about 5 slides if you're trying to show it, Terry. So we're going to send you those in a form that you can use on your own social media. Go forward, keep going. Sorry, that's during the results.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This one right here, we're going to send you that in a format that can be used in either, this shape is good for Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then we'll send you a square one that can be used on Instagram. It will include the the Florida Alliance's logo on it. So we'll send you that. And then there's another one, a couple of slides forward, that shows the different, this one, we'll send you that one. We'll also have some example tweets or Facebook posts, some wording that you can either copy paste or you can customize for your own. And then Terry's going to write a paragraph about these results and what the Alliance is that you can use in your own website, on your own blog posts or podcasts, however you want to convey that. And also that banner that she referred to, so that you can proudly display that you're a member.
Okay. So, Irby, have we got any other questions, or?
I don't see anything else in the chat. I haven't received anything from anyone else. I guess we can give some people some time back in their day. If there's no other questions, we can wrap it up. Is there anybody else that has any questions? We definitely want to thank today's sponsors for this session, not only NeighborWorks and the Florida Community Loan Fund, but a lot of my colleagues in the banking world. Thank you so much for sponsoring. Like to thank, Terry has pulled, yes, I'm sorry, you're right. Also like to thank the participants in today's session. Hope that you thought it was informative. And we do have a survey now at the end of the presentation, just that you'll answer the questions right on the screen as a Zoom poll. And I think that they're going to put that up right now. Thank you.
Is it up?
No, not yet. Oh, wait a minute. There's another question.
Good.
Okay, after the poll, we'll go ahead and answer the question. If everyone could please just answer the poll questions, we'd appreciate it.
It's up now.
Yeah. While you guys are answering the poll, I'll go ahead and ask the question that was presented in the chat. How is the interaction with Twitter versus Facebook with the communities you work with? Is Twitter more communicative? And thank you for asking that, because I did see that one of the answers was that they use Twitter, but the other ones did not mention Twitter. So I am curious as to how Twitter is responsive to the needs of your communities. Yeah. If anybody has any answers to that. We can stop sharing the screen and just go back to gallery view. Thank you. Does anybody have any?
It would be nice to hear from the various members on how the different social medias work for you. As I mentioned, LinkedIn is a good one for us. And also I find personally, or for my organization, on Twitter, we do get a lot of engagement. But as I said, our organization does not work directly with the end recipients of the financing that we provide. So our Twitter friends are more the B2B type thing, the borrowers that we work with. We love to see what they're doing. They like to see what we're doing and that type of thing. But it would be interesting to see what others are finding on the different social medias. I personally find that Facebook is very hard to get engagement on unless you place ads. And if you're looking to receive donations, or if you're looking to increase your donor base, then ads can be a good way to go. We do not put money into social media advertising at Florida Community Loan Fund. We do place ads on Google Ads, which you can get a nonprofit grant for. And those Google Ads send traffic to our website. And probably a very small percentage of that traffic is actually somebody that's looking for the services we provide. Google is such a wide net that it casts that you get a lot of traffic that's not really looking for your services. But who knows? It's free. So if something comes in, it's better than nothing.
Anybody have any comments on your social media outreach and how it's helped?
I have to say that at the Alliance, this is not something that we're good at. You know, the website is really our is our only social media platform. But we got it. We had a marketing intern earlier this year who worked with Janet and one of our board members, and you know, so we actually do have a plan going forward to try and utilize some of the social media a little bit more effectively as we go forward. So it's going to be a big learning curve for us. But I'm getting a lot. I'm getting a lot more I'm getting a lot more things from colleagues via LinkedIn. So I mean, I can really see how LinkedIn could be a real good tool for us.
And I will say the Alliance does send a lot of emails, and that's your platform, is the newsy emails. And those are very informative. And that's good too, because people have to ask to be on your email list. So you know they want the information. It's interesting to them. Whereas when we put it on social media, we don't know if the people that see it are going to be really interested in it or not. So
exactly.
Janet, I think you have one more question relative to how to apply for the Google Ads grant.
You go to ads.google.com, I think is the website. Again, you can email me on that. I was not prepared to speak about Google grants here, but shoot me an email and I'll send you the link. It's pretty complicated, I will say. But there are also bloggers about that and webinars that you can attend.
One last comment. Seems that one key element is capacity and interest to consistently deal with the traffic. That's true. Not an easy issue with lean staffs. That's true. You basically have to have somebody that's constantly on top of that. And for the smaller nonprofits with few staff members, that might be difficult.
And if you're referring to keeping up with the traffic on social media, that's one reason I mentioned that, you know, you can get a platform like Hootsuite. They have a low cost, they have a free version, but they have a pretty low cost version. And if you want to be active on social media, you can plan your posts out for a week, sit down for an hour, put them all in Hootsuite, and it's done. But that's when I say, just remember, keep it in your mind what you posted in case you need to go back in and change something.
The other thing that might be effective is sometimes, you know, a lot of these younger kids need community service hours, and they're all very, very in tune to social media and what's going on, and they know Facebook and all of these better than we do. So it might not be a bad idea to, you know, just to get someone in that field, that the social media experts that are younger that just need community service hours, and they may be able to help you and also monitor your site so they can, you know, be engaged, and you don't always have to be there. Yes, the young ones are the experts.
Well, and there's a double benefit to that too, because you're getting, you know, our potential next generation of leaders engaged in the field, you know, so they're not just monitoring a site for you, they're learning about the field as they go, and hopefully, you know, it'll be the hook that'll keep them engaged with us as we go forward.
I will caution that if you have interns or teenagers working with your social media, that you keep a close rein on what they're doing. Make sure that they're conveying the message that you want to convey. They may not be familiar enough with what it is that your organization is doing to, you know, word it the way. I mean, if you give them a few examples, they'll take it and run with it. But keep an eye on it. Don't just assume it's going well if you have somebody doing it for free.
That is good advice, Janet. Thanks.
All right, very talkative crowd today. Thank you to those of you that did participate. Thank you everyone for attending. Do we have any last minute comments, questions from the speakers? Any last minute words or words of advice?
Find the time to do this. We've been slack at the Alliance, and we're really trying to turn over a new leaf and be better at this. It really, getting the message out about what you all do is of critical importance. I don't know if you realize it, but the nonprofit sector in Florida, of which we're part, is the 7th largest employer in the state. You know, so, you know, we're part of a really big industry here, you know, as nonprofits. Granted, the community development sector is a small piece of that, but, you know, the work that you do is critically important to the communities and to the people that you work with. And we need to celebrate it, and we need to make sure that everybody knows that what you're doing is successful, that you're good at it, and that people are benefiting, and communities are becoming better because of us. So make sure we put some time in your agenda to work on this stuff.
Thanks, Terry. Sorry, we do have a couple more questions and comments. Any data related to how many Alliance members serve in rural areas?
Not directly, but I can tell you it's a very small percentage. It's the rural areas of Florida tend not to be covered particularly well by community-based organization. It's difficult to financially sustain them in rural communities. One thing that we've been working with the Florida Association for Community Action over the years, and they're really trying to encourage their members, many of whom serve multiple counties, particularly rural counties, trying to get them more engaged in real estate development, frankly, in affordable housing. So yeah, there's not very many.
Thank you. And also one last question. How do you think small and lean organizations can better capitalize on the survey?
Well, Janet's going to help us put together this amazing toolkit.
That's what I was going to say. At the very least, you can put the banner on your website, and use a couple of the social media posts if you're on social media, or just include something on your website that you're a member, link back to the Alliance website. But there may be other more concrete statistics that they can use that they were referring to. I'm not sure which aspect of that the question was referring to.
Well, we did the other thing. I would have to go through the data, but we did ask the organizations to indicate the counties that they served. So, while we can't share individual responses with the universe, we can say, for example, our members in Broward County, serve this many people and provide these kinds of activities. So that might be helpful if you're looking for information, about a specific part of the state.
Okay, last comment from Julie that I think everyone can see. Thank you. Interesting comment about nonprofits. Nonprofits in Florida are more well organized than many other places. Quite an asset for community development to plumb. Yeah, I'm not familiar with other states, but I would, in Florida, the nonprofit community is huge, a huge employer and huge contributor to our economy. So definitely a plus for this organization as well.
It absolutely is, and the challenge has been and continues to be telling the story of what these organizations are doing and the positive impacts they're having in communities, on people and the economy. So thanks, everybody. This was wonderful. I'm just going to remind everybody that the next session is at noon. So you have a 30-minute break, so you can go get a nice cup of coffee or an ice cream, or whatever makes you happy at this hour of the day. A sandwich would be good. I've got some White Castle burgers waiting to go in the microwave. So there's a session at noon, and then there's another session at 1:30, and then 3, and then the last session of the day is at 4:30. And we hope to see you at all of them. Janet, any last comments?
Oh, just get out there and work your communications. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to email me. I'll see if I can answer them.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Have a rest of the week. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.